Hello everybody, here we are today and we are going to be doing a season preview over the New York Rangers. Now before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or the channel. That being said, let's get on into it. So New York obviously was a team that had a lot of reason to be optimistic going into last season after making the Eastern Conference Final in 2022. Things did not go as well as they would have hoped. They did make the playoffs, but ended up losing in the first round. And now it kind of leaves us wondering what are some storylines to talk about for the Rangers going into this season. So the first storyline will be whether or not the Rangers missed their Reynolds. The Rangers were a club that, wanted to go and make a push and get aggressive after being on the verge of the Stanley Cup Final in 2022. And went out and got Vladimir Tarasenko and Patrick Kane, two guys that really left their mark on the league in the 2010s. And with the Blue Shirts doing so, they ended up giving up a first, second, third, and fourth round pick, if I'm not mistaken, as well as a player and a prospect. Could be more to this, I can't remember, but in general, not one of those deals you're happy looking back at now, because they ended up not even advancing out of the first round. They lost to the Devils in 7 games, and to go from being one round away in 2022 to being done in round 1 in 2023, especially when you felt like you got aggressive and really added some chances by getting some forward depth, that has to be heartbreaking. But to give it away and lose them right away is even more devastating, because Tarasenko ended up signing with Carolina. We don't know. I don't know what went all down there. I think it was his agent was involved in it, but he wasn't. But obviously he ended up signing a 1-year deal instead with the Senators, and Patrick Kane is a free agent at the moment. But a lot of that has to do with him recovering from an injury, and he's being reported at time of recording going possibly to the Red Wings, which would be so weird. But the point remains, you end up giving away picks and a prospect and a player. Now I know it wasn't the biggest name player and all that for these two guys that didn't win you any series, and they didn't even end up staying with you, which hurts more now too, because now that forward depth that you could have had they stuck around is gone. So with this club and how things went last year, I think this first point really ties in well with this second point, which I'll talk about now. The second point is, will this group be able to weather some of the bumps and bruises of this upcoming season? The Rangers were a team that were relatively healthy last year. Now I think they had the fewest man games lost to injury last season. From what I was able to find online, basically they were healthy, and while they might have played through some injuries we don't know about, their top 5 point producers last year, 4 of them ended up playing the whole season, and the other one, I can't remember who it was, ended up playing like 78, 79 games. Their top 3 lines for the most part looked like they were relatively healthy, and they were in a good spot, which kind of makes you wonder, are they going to be able to handle the grind of a regular season? Also makes you wonder too, will they miss their Reynolds? Guys like Mika Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, Adam Fox played, and they did not miss time, and that's good. That's really good for you. But if you lose those guys for a sustained period of time, you could really be in a bad spot where there's no Kane, there's no Tarasenko to come in and help save the day. It's the guys that are in-house. Now you could make a trade. I know that is a potential thing here, but you're really betting on health, which is so hard to do and rely on in the NHL, with this being such a physical sport. And I would say right now this is something that you should be worried about if you are a Rangers fan. Not the end-all be-all if they lost one guy or the other, but let's say that Adam Fox goes down for 30 games with just a random injury. That would mean losing a Norris contender for 30 games, almost half of your season. A guy that'll play 24 minutes a night if he has to, will play more than that if he has to. Not something you want to deal with right now, and I think for the Rangers, when they've had some younger guys that have been underperforming, you're really hoping that you don't have to worry about that, because no guys that you traded for with those picks are still there, like we said. And then also to be the healthiest team, or one of the healthiest teams in the league back-to-back years, I mean, you're really hoping for a lot of luck there and to not have any of your big-name players to get hurt. Again, fingers crossed, and you're hoping, knock on wood, that things go well in that department. But I don't know, just it feels like a gamble to say that this year is going to be just like last year where they were able to do that. And then the third and final talking point that I wanted to say here is, will Jonathan Quick be able to provide consistent relief for Igor Shesterkin? Shesterkin is coming off of back-to-back really good years and is a huge proponent of how the Rangers have been able to get back to the postseason. And then that Eastern Conference Final run, there was points where he was just a brick wall. And he is a workhorse. That is obviously something that it can be a good thing where you have a guy that can give you 60 games in a season if need be, but at the same time, 60 games every season or near 60 games, even if it's in the 50 range every season, making the playoffs, possibly going on runs, wear and tear of your big money goalie is not ideal. You want to be able to give him less starts, I guess, in my opinion, in the season. That way he is more fresh for a postseason run. And with Jonathan Quick, is he going to be the consistent backup goalie for the Rangers this year? I really couldn't tell you, but I do know with Quick, he is someone that has had an impact before in Stanley Cup Finals. He ended up being a big part of the 2014 Stanley Cup Final, where I'm sure Rangers fans probably remember that and don't really like him for good reason. But I will say, is a guy that is not the same player. He's not that 2012 version anymore, that 2012 run that he went on. He really hasn't been the same since the 2017-18 season, so you're looking at 5 seasons where Quick hasn't been up to snuff for what we've expected for him before, and last year looked brutal with the Kings. 800 save percentage, somewhere around there. It was just atrocious with the Kings. Didn't get much better in Vegas, which I think was a concern. So you have two teams that have good defensive units. And, you know, with the Knights, obviously they are a group that has a really deep blue line that I've talked about in season previews. And he wasn't able to get the job done there. So in New York, again, I'm not really banking on Quick being able to be that reliable guy. But if he could find just something for the regular season, 25 games, even 30 games, whatever the case would be, maybe some more action, that would be ideal. Maybe he could get hot for the playoffs, and if Shesterkin has a bad game, he can take over the reins for a little bit. All in all, though, I will say that if things go poorly with Quick, the Rangers are going to have to figure out what to do to address their backup goaltending situation or their goalie situation sooner rather than later, because you don't want to have Shesterkin run out of gas in the playoffs, especially if it's later in the year. And I know people say, oh, you always are ready for the Cup. At the end of the day, he is a goalie that is going to be getting a lot of minutes this season. So hoping for the best here and hoping that Quick can be that relief piece. But I'm going to say right now, you might want to be looking at other options going forward. So overall, am I just doom and gloom? Do I hate the Rangers? What are my thoughts on this team? No, I don't hate the Rangers. In fact, I have really enjoyed watching the Rangers, especially since the 2020 season. And I feel like with this group, they have a lot of really special guys that are fun to watch. And they are a big market, one of the biggest brands in the NHL world. And they're a must-see team. Will I say that I expect them to be a Stanley Cup contender? If Igor is hot and, you know, some of their forward guys are able to light things up, will they be a playoff team? I think that they should be a playoff team as long as Shesterkin's healthy and playing well. And again, that things are clicking. Are there going to be highs and lows during the season? Yes. Could they miss the playoffs? I mean, obviously looking at the Metro, it is no cakewalk. But for me right now, looking at this club, I am hopeful for them. Do I know if they're going to be able to go on a hot run this year? No. Does it seem like I'm super negative about this group? Yes. But I'm more of a realist. Injuries happen, and that's kind of my biggest gripe with the club going forward. Obviously, trading for Vladdy and Kane didn't end up working out. And are you going to try to, pull the trigger on some trades this year? I really couldn't tell you, but in general, these are just some quick thoughts for this Rangers club for this upcoming season. What are your thoughts on the blue shirts? Leave them down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Check out my playlist as well. Everybody, please stay safe. Have a great night, and you go love hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.